Welcome to InnerVoice Audio. Today we begin Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of the most influential books on money and mindset. This book is not just about wealth. It is about the way we think about wealth, the way we see money, and the lessons we pass from one generation to the next. Robert Kiyosaki begins with a unique story. He says he had two fathers. One was his real father, his poor dad, an educated man with a good job, who valued security and traditional schooling. The other was his best friend's father, his rich dad, a man who had little formal education, but who understood money, investment, and the power of financial intelligence. Both fathers cared for him. Both gave him advice. But their guidance could not have been more different. His poor dad would say, study hard, get good grades, find a safe job, and work for security. His rich dad would say, learn how money works, build assets, let money work for you, and never depend only on a paycheck. This contrast became the foundation of Kiyosaki's education about money. As a child, he saw how the choices of these two men shaped their lives. His poor dad, though highly educated, often struggled financially. His rich dad, though less educated, built wealth and freedom. Kiyosaki explains that the difference was not intelligence, but mindset. One saw money as something to be earned and spent. The other saw money as something to be learned, multiplied, and controlled. One played it safe. The other looked for opportunities. The lessons he learned from these two fathers shaped his future. He realized that financial education is not taught in schools. Schools teach math, science, and literature, but not how money works. Most people grow up learning how to work for money, but not how to make money work for them. In this book, he shares the key lessons he learned from his rich dad. These lessons are about building assets, understanding cash flow, and freeing yourself from the trap of working for money without ever achieving freedom. He makes it clear that wealth is not about how much you earn. It is about how much you keep, how hard your money works for you, and how long it works. The introduction ends with a challenge. If you continue to think like the poor dad, you may live with security but also with struggle. If you choose to think like the rich dad, you can build freedom, independence, and wealth. The choice is not about luck. It is about learning new ways of thinking and acting. This is where the journey begins. Two fathers, two mindsets, two very different financial destinies. Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money. Robert Kiyosaki remembers being a boy of 9 years old, eager to understand money. He and his friend Mike wanted to be rich. They asked Mike's father, the man Robert would come to call his rich dad, to teach them. Rich Dad agreed, but his lessons did not begin in a classroom. They began with work. He told the boys they could work in one of his small stores, stacking cans and sweeping floors. Their pay would be 10 cents an hour. At first, Robert felt cheated. The work was boring. The pay was small. After 3 weeks, he grew frustrated. He went to Rich Dad to complain. Rich Dad listened calmly, then smiled. He explained that this was the first and most important lesson. Poor people and the middle class work for money. The rich make money work for them. He told Robert that life will always push you around. Some people get angry and blame their boss, their job, or the system. Others get scared and cling to security. But very few stop to think. Very few learn from the push. Those who learn, those who see opportunities inside challenges, are the ones who grow rich. Rich Dad said, "You are not working for me. You are working for yourself. I am teaching you how life works." He explained that emotions control most people. Fear of being poor drives them to work hard, to cling to a paycheck. Desire for nice things pushes them to spend what they earn. Fear and desire create a cycle that traps them. Work for money, spend it, work again, and never escape. Robert listened. At first he was confused, but slowly he began to see. The lesson was not about 10 cents an hour. The lesson was about choice. If he let fear and desire control him, he would always be a slave to money. But if he could control his emotions, if he could think instead of react, he could make money his servant. Rich Dad gave the boys another test. He stopped paying them altogether. For weeks they worked for nothing. At first Robert was angry. But then something changed. With no pay to expect, he began to notice other things. He saw how the store made money. He saw how customers behaved. He saw opportunities. He began to think like an entrepreneur instead of an employee. This was exactly the point. Rich Dad explained. Opportunities are invisible to those who only think about money. When you stop working for pay, you begin to see what others miss. He told Robert and Mike that the poor and middle class spend their lives working for money and security. The rich do not. The rich learn to build systems, businesses, and investments that generate money without them. Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," they ask, "How can I afford it?" One question closes the mind. The other opens it. By the end of Lesson 1, Robert understood the principle that would shape his life. The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. Lesson 2. Why teach financial literacy? Robert Kiyosaki explains that it is not how much money you make that matters. It is how much money you keep. People can earn large salaries, but if they spend everything and build no assets, they remain poor. Others may earn modest incomes, but if they understand money, they grow wealthy. The difference is financial literacy. Rich Dad taught that assets are things that put money into your pocket. Liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket. Most people cannot tell the difference. They call their house an asset, but in truth, it often acts like a liability, draining money every month in mortgage payments, taxes, and repairs. The rich focus on buying assets: stocks, bonds, businesses, real estate that pays rent, or intellectual property that earns royalties. The poor and middle class focus on liabilities they think are assets: cars, bigger homes, consumer debt. They work for money, but build no foundation of wealth. Kiyosaki gives a simple diagram. The poor spend all their income on expenses. The middle class earn money, then spend it on liabilities they think are assets. The rich acquire assets first, and those assets then pay for their expenses. Financial literacy means understanding numbers. Most people leave school without learning how to read financial statements. They may know math, but they do not know how to track money. Rich Dad insisted that learning to understand the language of accounting was vital. If you can read numbers, you can see where money flows. You can see the truth behind businesses and investments. Robert recalls his poor dad saying, "I don't care about money. I work for knowledge." But in the end, his poor dad struggled financially because he never learned how money truly worked. Rich Dad, with less formal education, built wealth because he mastered this skill. The lesson is clear. The single most important rule in becoming rich is to know the difference between an asset and a liability. Once you understand this, you focus all your energy on buying real assets. Assets put money in your pocket, whether you work or not. Liabilities take it away, no matter how much you earn. This was Lesson 2. Why teach financial literacy? Because without it, even a high income will slip through your fingers. With it, even modest earnings can grow into financial freedom. Lesson 3. Mind your own business. Robert Kiyosaki explains that most people spend their lives minding someone else's business. They work for companies, for shareholders, for bosses. They work hard to make others rich. Meanwhile, they neglect their own business, their own financial future. Rich Dad taught him that the path to wealth is to focus on building your own asset column, not someone else's. He said, "Keep your daytime job, but start minding your own business. Start building and buying assets that will one day support you, even if your paycheck stops." An asset is not a job title or a salary. An asset is something that generates income without your direct labor. A business you own, a rental property, a dividend-paying stock, intellectual property that earns royalties. These are the seeds of freedom. The middle class often believe that buying a bigger house or car shows success. But in truth, those are liabilities that tie them more tightly to their jobs. They must keep working to pay for them. The rich, in contrast, quietly build streams of income that flow whether they work or not. Robert remembers that his poor dad encouraged him to climb the corporate ladder, get a safe job, earn promotions, and retire with benefits. His rich dad said, "Do not climb a ladder. Own the ladder." That was the difference in mindset. Minding your own business does not mean quitting your job recklessly. It means using your job as a tool while you steadily build assets on the side. The mistake is thinking that your profession is your business. A doctor may think medicine is his business, but if he stops practicing, the income stops. The same is true for lawyers, engineers, or employees. Unless they build assets, they remain dependent on their labor. Rich Dad stressed that financial struggle is not caused by not working hard. It is caused by working hard for the wrong reasons. People confuse their profession with their business. Your profession is how you earn money today. Your business is what will sustain you tomorrow. The lesson of Chapter 3 is simple but powerful. Focus your time and money on acquiring assets. Mind your own business. Do not be trapped forever minding the business of your employer. Use your income to buy freedom, not to deepen your dependence. Lesson 4. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. Robert Kiyosaki explains that one of the great differences between the rich and everyone else is how they use the rules of money. Most people work hard, earn money, pay taxes, and spend what remains. The rich understand how to structure their money so that it worked for them first, and they legally pay less in taxes. Rich Dad often reminded Robert that taxes were not originally created to punish the rich. In fact, the first income taxes were meant for the wealthy as a temporary measure. But over time, they expanded to include everyone. And now, the middle class carries much of the burden. They work, their income is taxed, and they spend what remains. The rich, however, use corporations. A corporation is not just a building or a large company. It is a legal entity that can own assets, earn money, and spend before paying taxes. An employee earns income, pays taxes, and then spends. A corporation earns income, spends on expenses, invests, and then pays taxes only on what is left. That difference in sequence creates powerful advantages. For example, a corporation can pay for expenses like travel, cars, or retirement plans before taxes. The individual cannot. By understanding this, the rich legally reduce their tax bills while keeping control of their money. Rich Dad did not teach Robert to cheat or to evade taxes. He taught him to be financially educated enough to understand the system. He said, "The ignorance of the law costs people money. The knowledge of the law saves people money." Another lesson was about the concept of power. The middle class often feel powerless against taxes. They feel trapped, forced to pay without choice. The rich invest in their financial education and advisors. They learn the rules of corporations, accounting, investing, and law. With knowledge comes power. Kiyosaki reflects that his poor dad believed in working hard, earning more, and paying taxes honestly without question. His rich dad believed in working smarter, understanding systems, and using the tools of the wealthy. A corporation is one such tool. This chapter does not argue that everyone should start a corporation overnight, but it shows the principle. The rich think differently. They look for structures that protect their money and grow their assets. The poor and middle class work for money, and by the time they are paid, much of it is already gone. The lesson of Chapter 4 is clear. Taxes and corporations are not enemies to fear. They are realities to understand. Financial education gives you the ability to use the same tools the rich use. Without that knowledge, you remain trapped in the cycle of working, paying, and struggling. With it, you gain control. Lesson 5. The rich invent money. Robert Kiyosaki explains that the rich are not people who sit and wait for money to appear. They create opportunities. They use imagination, courage, and financial knowledge to invent money where others see nothing. Most people say, "I can't afford it." The rich instead ask, "How can I afford it?" That shift in mindset opens the door to creativity. Money is not only earned through labor. It can be created through ideas, deals, and investments. Rich Dad often told Robert that money is invented in the mind first. Opportunities exist everywhere, but most people are blind to them because they lack financial education. They wait for a job or a raise. They fear risk. They cling to security. But the rich use knowledge to see what others miss. Kiyosaki remembers how his rich dad encouraged him to practice with small investments. He told him, "Take action, even if you fail. Mistakes are part of learning." By taking small risks, Robert learned to recognize patterns, to spot value where others overlooked it, and to gain confidence. The difference, Rich Dad explained, is not money itself, but the ability to see possibilities. For example, a person with no financial education might save money in a bank, earning little interest. A financially educated person might use the same money as a down payment on a property that generates monthly cash flow. The same dollars, but one creates income while the other simply sits. Fear holds most people back. They fear losing money, so they never take chances. They fear being wrong, so they never act. Rich Dad said, "Winners are not afraid of losing, but losers are. Failure is part of success. People who avoid failure also avoid success." Robert contrasts this with his poor dad's mindset. His poor dad valued stability. He avoided risk. He believed safety was found in a secure paycheck. But in truth, this left him vulnerable. Without assets or investments, he had nothing to protect him when life changed. The rich invent money by expanding their knowledge. They learn about investing, about markets, about business. They build networks of advisors and partners. They stay alert to changes. And when opportunities appear, they act decisively. This does not mean recklessness. Rich Dad never taught gambling. He taught preparation. He said, "The more you learn, the luckier you get." The rich are not lucky by accident. They are lucky because they are ready when chances arrive. The lesson is clear. The poor and middle class see money as limited. They see life as a zero-sum game. The rich understand that money can be created. It comes from ideas, knowledge, and the courage to act. With financial intelligence, you invent money rather than wait for it. Lesson 6. Work to learn, don't work for money. Robert Kiyosaki recalls that many people asked him why he changed jobs so often when he was younger. His poor dad criticized him for not sticking to one career path. But his rich dad explained that Robert was not working to earn a paycheck. He was working to learn skills. Rich Dad taught that the most important investment is in yourself. Instead of chasing money, chase knowledge. Most people work in a narrow field. They learn one skill, one job, and spend their whole lives repeating it. They become highly specialized, but also highly dependent. If the job disappears, so does their income. The rich seek to broaden their education. They learn sales, marketing, accounting, investing, communication, and leadership. Each new skill is another tool in the toolbox. With more tools, they can adapt to more opportunities. Kiyosaki explains that his rich dad once told him, "Workers work for pay. Leaders work for vision. Entrepreneurs work for opportunity." By shifting focus from money to skills, you prepare yourself for wealth that lasts beyond any single job. For example, someone afraid of sales might avoid learning it. But Rich Dad would encourage that person to take a sales job, not forever, but long enough to overcome fear and gain the skill. Sales is not just about products. It is about persuasion, confidence, and communication. Skills that serve in every business and investment. Robert compares this to his poor dad. His poor dad valued education, but only in the form of formal schooling. He believed in academic degrees and professional careers. He thought job security was the ultimate goal, but this left him vulnerable because he never learned how money really worked. He worked for money his whole life and never reached freedom. Rich Dad's lesson was different. Work to learn. Don't work for money. This means using jobs as stepping stones, not destinations. Each job can teach something. How to manage people, how to read numbers, how to sell, how to negotiate, how to think strategically. The paycheck is secondary. The education is primary. Robert learned to see every opportunity as a classroom. Every skill gained was an asset, often more valuable than the money earned at the time. In the long run, skills compound into freedom, just as assets do. The rich are not defined by their profession. They are defined by the collection of skills and experiences they gather, which they later combine into businesses, investments, and opportunities. This chapter ends with a reminder. Specialization can make you secure for a short time, but versatility makes you free for a lifetime. Those who work only for money often remain trapped. Those who work to learn eventually let money work for them. Chapter 7. Overcoming Obstacles. Robert Kiyosaki explains that even with financial knowledge, people often fail to reach wealth. It is not a lack of intelligence that holds them back. It is the obstacles within themselves. Fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance are the true barriers to financial freedom. The first obstacle is fear. Everyone fears losing money. The difference is how people respond to that fear. Poor dad avoided risk and played it safe. Rich dad taught that loss is part of the game. The rich are not people who never lose. They are people who learn from losses, adjust, and continue forward. Failure is not the end. It is feedback. Winners use fear as a guide. Losers use it as an excuse. The second obstacle is cynicism. Doubt and negativity kill more dreams than failure ever will. Cynicism whispers, "It won't work. You'll lose. Others are smarter. The system is rigged." Robert explains that many people talk themselves out of opportunities before they even try. They focus on what could go wrong instead of what could go right. Rich dad taught him that the world is full of opportunities, but you see only what you look for. If you search for problems, you find problems. If you search for possibilities, you find possibilities. The third obstacle is laziness. People often claim they are busy, but busyness can be a form of laziness. It hides the truth that they are avoiding what really matters. Rich dad said, "A little greed is healthy." Not greed in the sense of selfishness, but in the sense of desire. When you allow yourself to want a better life, you find the energy to overcome laziness. If you suppress desire, you settle for less and call it being realistic. The fourth obstacle is bad habits. Many people spend money first and invest later, if anything is left. The rich reverse this. They invest first, then spend what remains. Building wealth is not about what you intend to do someday. It is about the small financial habits you practice every day. The fifth obstacle is arrogance. Arrogance is the combination of ignorance and ego. When people think they already know everything, they close themselves off from learning. Rich dad always encouraged Robert to remain a student. The moment you believe you are too smart to learn, you begin to make costly mistakes. Humility allows growth. Arrogance destroys it. Robert stresses that everyone faces these obstacles. What separates the rich from the poor is not the absence of fear, doubt, or mistakes. It is the ability to overcome them. The rich feel fear, but act anyway. They hear doubt, but move forward. They confront habits and arrogance and replace them with discipline and openness. Overcoming obstacles is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Financial freedom is built on the willingness to keep learning, to keep adjusting, and to never let fear or doubt control your destiny. Chapter 8. Getting Started. Robert Kiyosaki explains that many people understand the principles of financial education, but they hesitate to act. Knowledge without action changes nothing. Rich dad believed that the key to success was simply to begin. Start small, start imperfectly, but start. He offers practical steps to get moving. The first is to find a reason greater than reality. Money alone is rarely enough motivation. People need a strong why. For some, it may be freedom. For others, it may be security for their family. A powerful reason creates energy and determination when challenges appear. The second step is to choose daily habits. Wealth is not built in one leap. It grows from consistent choices repeated over time. Paying yourself first, investing a portion of income, reading about money, looking for opportunities. These small actions compound into financial growth. The third step is to master the power of learning. Rich dad told Robert, "Be a student for life. Read books, take courses, attend seminars, learn from mentors." The world of money changes constantly. Those who stop learning fall behind. Those who continue learning find new ways to grow. The fourth step is to surround yourself with the right people. Money is a team sport. Advisors, accountants, lawyers, and partners all play a role. If you spend time with those who complain and make excuses, you will adopt their mindset. If you spend time with those who seek opportunity, you will adopt theirs. The fifth step is to give first. Rich dad believed in the law of reciprocity. When you give knowledge, time, or money, it comes back multiplied. He taught Robert that generosity attracts abundance. Holding tightly out of fear often leads to scarcity. Robert explains that many people hesitate because they fear mistakes. But mistakes are teachers. The path to financial freedom is not perfect. It is messy, filled with lessons learned the hard way. The difference is that the rich see mistakes as tuition for education. The poor see them as proof to stop trying. Getting started does not require large sums of money. It requires courage. Begin with what you have. Learn, adjust, and grow. Waiting for the perfect moment means waiting forever. Starting even with small steps, means momentum begins. This chapter closes with a reminder. The journey to financial freedom is not about knowing everything in advance. It is about beginning, committing, and continuing, no matter how imperfect the first step may be. Chapter 9. Still want more? Here are some to-dos. Robert Kiyosaki explains that knowledge is valuable, but action is what creates results. For those who are serious about becoming financially free, Rich Dad left a set of practical to-dos. These are not secrets or shortcuts. They are disciplines and practices that build wealth step by step. The first to-do is stop saying, "I can't afford it." Replace it with, "How can I afford it?" The words you choose shape your thinking. One closes your mind. The other opens it to creativity. The rich are constantly asking how, while the poor too often accept can't. The second to-do is look for opportunities everywhere. The world is filled with them, but most people are blind because they are not looking. Rich Dad taught Robert to train his eyes to see what others miss: a property undervalued, a business idea overlooked, a market others fear. Opportunities are everywhere for those prepared to notice them. The third to-do is take action. Education is only the first step. Without action, nothing changes. Start small if you must, but start. Buy an investment, read a financial statement, attend a seminar, talk to someone who knows more than you. Doing creates confidence. The fourth to-do is choose your friends wisely. Surround yourself with people who talk about ideas, investments, and opportunities, not with those who only complain and stay stuck. Your environment shapes your mindset, and your mindset shapes your wealth. The fifth to-do is master one formula and then learn a new one. Do not get comfortable with just one way of making money. Markets shift. Economies change. Learn real estate, then stocks, then business. Expand your range. Every new formula you master increases your options. The sixth to-do is pay yourself first. Invest before you spend. Many people wait until the end of the month to save, but nothing is left. The rich reverse the process. They invest first, then live on what remains. This habit forces creativity, discipline, and growth. The seventh to-do is give back. Money is a tool, not just for personal gain, but for building communities, creating opportunities, and lifting others. Rich Dad believed that generosity multiplies. When you give, you set in motion a flow that returns greater than what you shared. Robert emphasizes that these are not theories. They are practices that anyone can begin today. None require wealth to start. They require commitment. This chapter concludes by reminding us that financial freedom is a choice. It is available to anyone willing to learn, to act, and to persist. The steps are simple, but not easy. They demand consistency, courage, and discipline. Still want more? Then do these things. Begin today. The future is built by those who act now. Final thoughts. Robert Kiyosaki reflects on the lessons from both of his fathers. His poor dad was loving, intelligent, and hardworking, but he believed in traditional education and job security. His rich dad was less formally educated, but he understood money, risk, and opportunity. From watching the paths of these two men, Robert learned that financial destiny is not determined by income, but by mindset. The central message is clear. The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. They build assets, protect them through knowledge, and multiply them with creativity and courage. They're not trapped by fear, doubt, or habit. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. Schools may teach reading, writing, and arithmetic, but they do not teach financial literacy. Without financial education, people remain in the cycle of working for money, paying taxes, buying liabilities, and hoping for security. With financial education, they can break free, create income from assets, and build lasting freedom. Robert emphasizes that becoming rich is not about luck or privilege. It is about learning, acting, and persisting. Anyone can begin, no matter their background. Start small, gain knowledge, acquire assets, and stay consistent. He reminds us that money is a powerful tool. In the hands of the fearful, it becomes a trap. In the hands of the wise, it becomes freedom. The difference lies not in the dollar itself, but in the way you think about it. The book closes with encouragement. Do not wait for the perfect time. Begin today. Invest in your financial education. Build assets. Surround yourself with people who lift you higher. Pay yourself first. Take risks, learn from mistakes, and never stop growing. Rich Dad's voice echoes through the final words. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich make money work for them. The choice is yours. You have just finished Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This timeless book reminds us that wealth is not built by chance. It is built by choice, by education, and by the courage to think differently. Rich Dad's lessons are simple but powerful. Focus on assets, invest in knowledge, and make money work for you instead of working for money. If these ideas inspired you, take a moment to reflect on how you can apply them in your own life today. Every small step counts. Thank you for listening with InnerVoice Audio, where we bring you life-changing books and powerful ideas in audiobook form. If you enjoyed this, remember to follow and join us again for more journeys of knowledge, growth, and inspiration. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep listening to your inner voice.